One of the biggest mistakes we make on crisis calls is assuming everyone sees the situation the way we do. We show up and immediately start looking at the call through our lens, watching our movie. We're thinking about safety, getting the person the help they need, resolving the call, and getting back in service because there's still work waiting for us. And none of that is wrong. But while we're focused on all of that, they're looking at the situation differently. They're watching their movie. They're focused on their own concerns, fears, and priorities. They're seeing the situation much differently than we are. Same situation, two different movies. Years ago, somebody shared an idea with me that completely changed how I looked at difficult conversations. Everybody is the main character in their own story. Everyone. That includes us. Just like every movie has a main character, heroes, villains, obstacles, and supporting characters, we've all built our own version of the story we're living in. Think about it. As we walk through the world and interact with other people, we're usually viewing things from the perspective of the main character in our story. The challenge is remembering that when we show up on a call, we're stepping into somebody else's story where they're the main character. But we often end up looking at everything through our own movie instead. And that's where we get into trouble. Because every call really has two problems. There's the problem as we see it in our movie, and there's the problem as they see it in theirs. And those aren't always the same thing. Let's say you're trying to convince someone to go talk with a mental health professional and get the help they need. From your perspective, the issue might be pretty straightforward. They're struggling, things aren't going well, and talking to someone could help. But that's not necessarily the movie they're watching. What looks like an obvious solution to us can feel very different to them. I've talked with people who saw accepting help as giving up control. Others felt like nobody was listening to them. Some were worried about what would happen next, while others had been through the system before and didn't trust it. None of those concerns were obvious when the conversation started. The details change from person to person, but the lesson stays the same. People respond to their version of the situation, not ours. And if we don't understand their version of the situation, it's easy for us to start solving the wrong problem. We can spend the whole conversation explaining why getting help makes sense. But if we get curious about their problem, we start asking different questions. What's making this difficult? What do you think is going to happen? What would make this easier? Answers to questions like that help us to understand their movie. And once we understand their movie, we have a much better chance of influencing the outcome. Because now we're addressing the things that matter to them, not just the things that matter to us. So here's the takeaway. The next time you're on a call and it feels like the conversation is going in the wrong direction, stop for a second and ask yourself, what movie are they watching right now? Because until you understand the story they're living in, it's going to be a lot harder to help them change the next chapter. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more crisis intervention tips and check out my free monthly newsletter, The Insightful Responder. Because crisis is difficult. It doesn't have to be complicated.